Chapter 1. The day everything fell apart. Word count. 900. I could hear my heartbeat louder than the wedding bells. Every breath felt heavy under my collar. I looked down at my hands, steady, practiced, but inside, I was shaking. This is it, I told myself. After everything, I finally made it here. Then the doors opened. Clara walked in, white dress glowing like sunlight on glass. Everyone turned to her. My chest warmed until her eyes met mine. No smile, just silence. Something inside me whispered that the woman walking toward me wasn't the same one who once promised forever. The priest began, his voice trembling through the microphone. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here. I didn't hear the rest. My gaze was fixed on Clara. Her fingers clutched the bouquet too tightly, knuckles white. She wouldn't look at me. When it was time for our vows, I took her hands. Clara, I whispered. Hey, look at me. She finally met my eyes, and I saw it guilt. Do you, Clara Hayes, take Ethan Walker as your lawful husband? The room held its breath. Clara's lips parted, but no sound came. The priest repeated, Do you take this man? Then she shook her head slightly. I can't. It felt like the air vanished. What? My voice cracked. Clara, what are you? I'm sorry. She turned her head toward someone in the crowd. My heart followed her gaze and froze. Lucas, my best friend. My brother in everything but blood. He was standing near the front, expression unreadable. Until he took a step forward. Clara, I whispered. Please tell me this isn't... I'm sorry, Ethan, she said, voice trembling. I can't marry you, the crowd gasped. Phones lifted. The whispers became thunder. Lucas walked up the aisle slowly, like this was planned. His hand brushed hers. My stomach dropped. Clara, I said, almost begging, don't do this. Not here. Not like this. Her voice cracked. I can't live pretending anymore. Pretending? I laughed bitterly. Pretending to love me? Or pretending not to love him? She looked down. That silence was my answer. People started murmuring. My mother's voice broke behind me. Ethan, let's go. But I couldn't move. I stared at the woman who promised to build a life with me, and the man who helped me plan every detail of this wedding. Lucas said softly, Ethan, I never meant for it to happen this way. I stepped closer. Then how was it supposed to happen? Behind my back again? He flinched but didn't look away. We didn't plan it. It just happened. I laughed, broken, empty sound. Right. Love just happened between my fiancée and my best friend. The priest stood frozen, unsure whether to stop the ceremony or pray for resurrection. I turned back to Clara. Everything I built, every dream, every plan was for you. Tears spilled down her face. I didn't want to hurt you. You just didn't want to look like the villain, I said. The silence that followed was suffocating. Cameras clicked like gunfire. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone stand Sophie. She was Clara's bridesmaid, quiet all morning, almost invisible. But now her eyes were burning. She spoke, voice clear and steady, cutting through the chaos. Ethan, stop begging her. You don't deserve this humiliation. Everyone turned to her. Clara whispered sharply, Sophie, stay out of this. But Sophie didn't. She walked down the aisle, heels echoing against the marble. No, you humiliated him enough. You chose greed over love. You chose comfort over loyalty. Her words hit harder than mine ever could. I blinked, lost between rage and disbelief. Sophie, why are you defending me? She looked at me, eyes soft. Because you've spent your whole life giving people everything, and all they ever did was take. My throat tightened. Sophie turned to the priest. If this wedding can't be his beginning with her, then maybe it should be his beginning with someone who actually sees his worth. The crowd murmured louder. Clara shouted, Sophie, stop this nonsense. But Sophie ignored her. She looked right at me and said quietly, Ethan, you don't have to walk away defeated. I stared at her, really stared. She wasn't crying. She wasn't pitying me. She was standing for me. I felt something shift inside my chest. Maybe it was madness. Maybe it was clarity. Sophie, I said slowly. What are you saying? I'm saying, she whispered, you deserve to walk out of here with your head held high. My pulse thundered. The priest stammered, Mr. Walker, this is highly irregular. I cut him off. Irregular? You think anything about today is normal? Laughter broke from the guests, nervous and awkward. I turned back to Sophie. If I asked you something crazy right now, would you say yes? She blinked once, then nodded. Yes, the entire room went silent. I took a deep breath. My voice was steady this time. Then marry me instead. Gasps. Shouts. The priest dropped his book. My mother nearly fainted. Clara's face went pale. Sophie didn't move for a moment. Then she stepped closer, eyes locked on mine. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said. If my life has to start over today, I want it to start with someone who didn't stab me in the back. Lucas cursed under his breath. This is insane. Yeah, I said. So is love. Clara reached for me, tears streaking her face. Ethan, don't do this. You're just hurt, please. Hurt. I looked at her hand and pulled away. You made sure of that. The priest hesitated. Are you truly sure you wish to proceed? Sophie took my hand. Her touch was warm, grounding. Let's give them something to talk about. I almost smiled. You're unbelievable, she whispered, and you need unbelievable right now. The priest sighed, flipping his book back open. Very well. As he started the vows again, my mind spun. Maybe this was madness, desperation, pride, but for the first time all day, I felt control return. Do you, Ethan Walker, take Sophie Reed? I do. Sophie smiled faintly. I do. The words echoed, wild and wrong and perfect. When he said, you may kiss the bride, I didn't. I just looked at her and whispered, thank you. She smiled back. For what? For reminding me I still matter. Applause. Burst half shocked, half supportive. I turned toward Clara and Lucas one last time. Their perfect picture had shattered, and as Sophie and I walked down the aisle through the wreckage of what used to be my dream, I realized sometimes rock bottom looks exactly like a wedding. Chapter 2. The vows that shouldn't have happened. Word count. 800. The church sounded like static voices, whispers, confusion. I couldn't tell where one ended and another began. My mind was blank, like someone had pulled the plug on reality. The priest's trembling voice broke through. Mr. Walker, Miss Reed, are you certain you wish to proceed? Sophie's fingers tightened slightly in mine. Her gaze stayed calm. Yes, she said. Let's finish what we started. He hesitated. Understood. His hand shook as he flipped the page. Do you, Ethan Walker, take Sophie Reed as your lawfully wedded wife? My throat was dry. I didn't even think I just heard myself say, I do. Then he turned to her. And do you, Sophie Reed, take Ethan Walker? I do, she said before he finished. The words echoed like a thunderclap. Someone gasped. Someone laughed. Someone whispered, this can't be real. The priest muttered something under his breath about divine will and quickly concluded, then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Applause confused. Hesitant and scattered followed. My chest felt hollow. I didn't kiss her. I couldn't. My body moved on instinct as we turned and walked down the aisle together. The flashes of cameras blinded me. I caught a glimpse of Clara's pale face, Lucas's clenched jaw. Their perfect illusion cracked like glass. Outside, the air hit me like ice. I stopped on the church steps. My mind screamed to make sense of what just happened. Sophie stood beside me quietly. You should breathe, she said. I can't. You just did. I almost laughed. This is insane. Maybe, she said softly, but it's honest. I turned to her. Why would you do that? You barely know me. Her eyes held steady. Because you didn't deserve to be humiliated. Not like that. Not in front of everyone. I shook my head. You think this fixed it? Everyone still saw me get dumped. They also saw you stand tall, she replied. That matters. I stared at her, words trapped behind the weight in my chest. You didn't have to do this, Sophie. I know, she said. But someone had to remind you of your worth. That line hit harder than any punch Lucas could have thrown. The photographer rushed toward us, camera raised. Mr. and Mrs. Walker. One picture. Sophie's hand slipped from mine. "Not now," she said firmly. I followed her to the car waiting outside. The driver opened the door and she whispered, "You coming?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I guess I'm your husband now." "Guess so," she said with a small, tired smile. The ride was quiet, except for the hum of the engine. The world outside was chaos, paparazzi flashes, headlines being born. Inside, only silence. I leaned back, staring out the window. "You regret it yet?" "No," I looked at her. "Not even a little." "Ask me tomorrow," she said. "Right now, you look like you need to stop pretending you're okay." I didn't answer. My hands were trembling in my lap. The weight of the ring on my finger felt like a chain. We stopped at a hotel downtown. My mother had arranged it before the ceremony, the honeymoon suite. The irony burned. As we entered, the receptionist tried to smile. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Walker." "Yeah," I muttered, "something like that." Upstairs, the room was spotless. Too bright. Too quiet. I pulled off my tie and threw it on the floor. This feels wrong. Sophie walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Of course it does. Nothing about today was right. I sat on the edge of the bed. So what now? We just pretend? She turned toward me. "Pretend what?" "That this means something." Her voice softened. "It does. Maybe not love, not yet, but respect. Dignity. That's something." I looked down. "You make it sound like you planned this." "I didn't, but when I saw you standing there, shattered, I couldn't watch you break." Her words sat between us, heavy and real. I ran a hand through my hair. "You must think I'm pathetic." "No," she said. "I think you're human. You loved the wrong person. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest." I laughed bitterly. "Honest doesn't get you very far in this world." "Maybe not," she replied, "but it helps you sleep at night." Silence again. The kind that doesn't ask for an answer. I walked to the minibar and poured water into a glass. My reflection looked back, tired eyes, a broken groom, a man in a stranger's wedding ring. "Do you think they'll last?" I asked quietly. "Clara and Lucas." "Yeah," she shrugged. "Maybe, but happiness built on betrayal doesn't stand for long." I turned the glass in my hand. "I used to believe she was my forever." Sophie's voice softened. "Then let today be the end of that forever." Her calmness steadied me. I sat across from her, watching the city flicker behind her silhouette. "You really don't regret it?" She smiled faintly. "If I did, I wouldn't be here." I exhaled slowly. The room suddenly felt lighter. "You know, you're too calm for someone who just married a man she barely knows." She tilted her head. "Maybe I believe people show their true selves in their worst moments. And what I saw today wasn't weakness." Her words silenced every thought screaming in my mind. I looked at her and felt something shift, a strange mix of gratitude and guilt. "Thank you," I whispered. "For what? For saving what was left of me?" She smiled, almost sadly. "You didn't need saving, Ethan. You just needed someone to remind you that you're still standing." The tears I'd been holding back all day finally came. I didn't fight them this time. They burned, but they felt clean. Sophie didn't move closer. She didn't need to. Her quiet presence said everything. Outside, thunder rolled through the city, shaking the windows. Inside, the storm finally broke inside me, and for the first time since she said I can't, I felt something real again. Not love. Not victory. Just peace. Chapter 3. The morning after the betrayal word count, 700. The morning hit me like a hangover I didn't earn. My phone buzzed, non-stop calls, texts, notifications. Headlines screamed across every screen. Runaway bride chooses best man unexpected wedding twist. I sat on the couch, staring at nothing. My coffee had gone cold hours ago. The world had turned my pain into a punchline overnight. Sophie stood near the window, scrolling through her phone. "They're everywhere," she said quietly. "Clips, photos, Interviews. They're calling it the wedding shock of the year. Great, I muttered. At least we're trending. She looked at me, guilt flickering in her eyes. I'm sorry you're being dragged into this mess. I rubbed my temples. Don't apologize. You didn't betray me, but I did marry you in front of 200 witnesses, she said, half smiling. Yeah, I replied. That part still feels like a fever dream. The knock on the door broke the silence. Noah walked in without waiting. My little brother, same sharp eyes as mine, but still untouched by the world's cruelty. He glanced at Sophie, then me. You good? Define good. He ignored that. You've seen the news, right? I've seen enough to want to throw my phone into the sea. He dropped a newspaper on the table. Ethan Walker left at the altar, Mary's bridesmaid in twist ending. Sophie groaned. They make it sound like a movie, Noah smirked. Yeah, except no one wants the sequel, I sighed. My investors are freaking out. The board wants statements, the press wants interviews, and I just want everyone to shut up. Noah sat across from me. You don't owe anyone explanations. Let karma handle it. Karma's too slow, I said quietly. Sophie crossed her arms. Then what? You'll go after them? I just need to know why, I said, voice sharper than I meant. Why she did it? I gave her everything, my time, my trust, my love. I deserve an answer. Noah frowned. You won't find peace in her words. Only more lies. Maybe, but I can't move on until I hear it from her. Sophie hesitated, then said, If that's what you need. I'll come with you. I shook my head. No, this one's mine. She nodded slowly. Then be ready. The truth might hurt worse than the lie. Clara's penthouse looked the same as always, cold, elegant, expensive. I hated that I could still picture every memory we built there. She opened the door wearing a silk robe. Coffee in hand like nothing had happened. Ethan, she said smoothly, you shouldn't be here. Don't worry, I said. I won't stay long. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. You're here for closure, aren't you? I'm here for honesty, I said. One thing you never gave me. She laughed softly. That's unfair. Unfair. My voice cracked. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know, Clara. You didn't even have the decency to tell me beforehand. I tried, she said, sipping her coffee. But you were so busy proving yourself that you didn't notice I'd already fallen out of love. That's not an excuse. It's reality, she replied coolly. You were chasing success, Ethan. But Lucasy offered stability. He understands the world I belong to. Stability. I scoffed. You mean money? Her tone hardened. You think love pays bills? Love doesn't buy respect, Ethan. I spent years defending you, your background, your lack of pedigree. I got tired. My chest tightened. So you sold your heart for comfort? She looked me dead in the eye. I chose a future I could live with. I took a step forward. You could have chosen honesty. Couldn't afford it, she whispered. That silence between us was heavier than anything I'd ever carried. I realized then that she wasn't sorry. She wasn't broken. She was just done pretending. So that's it? Last. You walk away and I just disappear from your story. She shrugged. You'll be fine. People like you always rise again. You'll make this tragedy your redemption arc. Her words stung. You sound proud of what you did. I'm realistic, she said. You could never give me the life Lucas can. Something inside me cracked quietly, completely. The love I'd clung to burned out in one cold breath. I nodded slowly. You're right. I couldn't give you that life. But I could have given you peace. You just never knew the value of it. Her face flickered for a second. Shame. Maybe, but I didn't care anymore. As I turned to leave, she called after me, Ethan. For what it's worth, I did love you once. I didn't look back. Then you should have loved me better. Back home, I sat alone in the dark, the city lights bleeding through the curtains. My phone buzzed again, another headline, another photo, another reminder. I turned it off and whispered to the empty room. She killed the best part of me. But even as I said it, I knew that part wasn't dead. It was waiting to become something else. Love had turned to ashes, and ashes always learn how to burn again. Chapter 4. The Rise from the Ashes Word Count, 900 I. Threw myself into work like it was oxygen, and I'd been drowning for years. Every deal, every meeting, every late-night call-it became my lifeline. Pain was easier to bear when it looked like productivity. Sophie noticed, of course. "You don't even eat anymore," she said one morning. Sliding a coffee across my desk. "I'll eat when the company's back on its feet." The company is back on its feet, Ethan. You're the one still crawling. I glanced at the charts on my monitor. We lost investors after the wedding. I need to rebuild what they broke. "They didn't break your business," she said softly. "They broke your pride." Her words stung because they were true. Months passed. The noise faded. Our company rebranded, restructured, and reemerged stronger than ever. Sophie handled PR. I handled strategy. Together, we built something that even my enemies couldn't ignore. At one gala, I caught sight of Lucas and Clara across the room. She was draped in designer arrogance. He wore a smirk that could curdle wine. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes. Sophie leaned closer and whispered, "You don't have to look." "I'm not looking," I said, forcing my gaze elsewhere. She chuckled. "You've been staring for 3 minutes." I laughed dryly. "Old habits die hard, then kill them," she said, sipping her champagne. Lucas noticed me and raised his glass in mock salute. I returned the gesture with a calm smile that hid the storm underneath. Later that night, Olivia, one of my oldest friends and business partners, found me outside on the terrace. "You handled that well," she said. Joining me, I handled it politely. I corrected. "That's not the same thing." "Still thinking about revenge?" "I'm thinking about justice," I said. Olivia leaned against the railing. "The best revenge isn't destruction, it's peace." I looked at her. "Peace feels like surrender." "It's not," she said. "It's proof you've already won." But her words didn't sit right. Peace didn't feel like victory, it felt like silence. And silence was unbearable. 2 weeks later, I sat in my office, reviewing a stack of documents. Sophie entered with her usual calm. "You've been in here since sunrise," she said. "What are you digging for?" "Patterns," I replied. "Something off about Lucas's new firm? His growth numbers don't make sense." She frowned. "You're investigating him?" "I'm verifying facts," I said. Though I knew what it really was. Rij, dressed as curiosity. Sophie set a folder on my desk. "And what happens if you find something?" "Then I make sure the world sees who he really is."
Ethan.
She warned, her tone soft but steady. "If you go down this road, there's no turning back." I looked up at her. He took everything from me. My name, my trust, my future. I'm not walking away until he pays. She didn't argue. She just said quietly, "Then I hope you're ready for the cost." The first crack appeared in Lucas's empire when my accountant sent me a private report. "Multiple discrepancies," he said. "Offshore accounts? Money moving through shell firms." It was enough to make a saint suspicious, and I was far from a saint. Days later, I got another lead. Clara's charity foundation had been funneling donations into luxury purchases. Cars, jewelry, designer vacations, owned under the guise of helping children. I stared at the evidence, my pulse thudding in my ears. Sophie walked in just as I was printing everything out. "What's all that?" "Truth," I said simply. She glanced at the files. "Clara and Lucas?" I nodded. "They built their happiness on lies. It's time someone pulled the curtain." She crossed her arms. "And that someone is you?" "Who else?" She shook her head. "You think exposing them will heal you, but it won't. It'll just turn you into them." I exhaled slowly. "Then maybe that's who I need to be right now." Her eyes softened. "You don't mean that." "I mean every word," I said, though a part of me still hoped I didn't. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my apartment, the city lights flickering against the glass. My mind replayed every betrayal, every whisper, every smirk from that cursed wedding day. I picked up my phone and called Olivia. She answered groggily. "Ethan, it's 2 in the morning." I found something, I said. Something. Bad? Something that could destroy them? She sighed. Then ask yourself if you're ready for the fallout. I've already fallen. Live. The only way left is up. She paused. Just don't lose yourself climbing. I hung up and stared out at the skyline. Her words echoed, but so did Clara's. You could never give me the life Lucas can, maybe not. But I could take away the one she stole. The next morning, I brought the files to Sophie. She looked at me with tired eyes. So this is it? This is justice. No, she said firmly. This is obsession. Justice would have let go. I met her gaze. You once said I should remember my worth. This is me remembering it. She held my stare for a long moment, then whispered, Then God help you, Ethan, because after this, no one else will. I watched her walk away, a strange ache twisting inside me. But I didn't stop her. I couldn't. My laptop screen glowed with everything I needed: documents, statements, proof. All I had to do was send it. One click. And the world would see them for what they really were. My finger hovered over the mouse, in the reflection of the screen. I saw my own eyes cold, unrecognizable, and for the first time, I wondered if maybe Sophie was right. But the doubt lasted only a heartbeat. I clicked send. The rise had begun. Not of the man they destroyed, but of the one they created. Chapter 5. Cracks in their paradise word count, 700. The city buzzed louder than usual that week, but it wasn't the kind of noise you celebrate. It was whispers, rumors, headlines without names. I didn't need to read them to know who they were about. Lucas's firm lost another investor, Noah said. Scrolling through his phone as we sat in the cafe, I stirred my coffee slowly. So it's starting, he looked at me. You sound almost satisfied. I'm not, I said quietly. I'm just watching the universe balance the scales. I smirked. Karma in motion, huh? Exactly. I took a sip. No need to lift a finger. It's already working. He leaned back. You really don't want to twist the knife? I already did, I said. Now I just watched them bleed truth. By Friday, the whispers had turned into public spectacle. Lucas was seen yelling at reporters outside his office. Clara's charity page went down for maintenance. Social media didn't buy the excuse. Sophie walked into my office, tablet in hand. You've seen this? I've seen enough, I replied. She sat across from me. You're quiet. Too quiet. I expected you to celebrate. Celebrate what? I asked. 2 people destroying themselves? I don't need confetti for that. Her eyes softened. You really mean that? I meant it the day I said karma works better than revenge ever could. She smiled faintly. Maybe you're healing after all. I didn't answer. Healing felt like too strong a word for what I was doing. Watching them crumble didn't fix anything inside MIT, just made the silence less heavy. A week later, I heard the knock on my door. Soft, hesitant, the kind that carried guilt. When I opened it, Clara stood there, eyes red, mascara smudged, her voice trembling. Ethan, she whispered, can we talk? I didn't move. About what? Your perfect life? She flinched. Just 5 minutes. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, glancing around like the memories in the room might attack her. Nice place, she said weakly. You've done well. I had to, I said flatly. Some of us didn't have a backup plan. Her lips quivered. I deserve that. Deserve what? I asked. The truth? She looked down. I made a mistake. I let out a hollow laugh. Just one? Her eyes filled with tears. I thought I loved him. I really did. But it was all wrong. Why are you telling me this? Because you were right, she whispered. He only cared about himself. When things got hard, he turned on me. He blamed me for everything. I folded my arms. So now you want me to what, feel sorry for you? No, she said quickly. I wanted you to know I regret it. Regret doesn't erase the past, Clara. I know, she whispered. But I can't live with this guilt anymore. I stared at her, the silence between us stretching like a wound reopening. You didn't love either of us, I said finally. You loved the idea of being above me. The money, the image, the spotlight. That's what you chose. Her face broke. That's not fair. It's honest. She stepped closer. Ethan, please. I can fix this. I can make it right. You can't, I said quietly. Some things aren't meant to be repaired. They're meant to be lessons.
Ow.
Tears streamed down her cheeks. Do you still hate me? I shook my head. No. I stopped wasting energy on hate. I just don't care anymore. She tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled it back. Clara, I said softly, you chose your path. Now you have to walk it. Her knees buckled, and she whispered, please. One more chance. I looked at her, this woman who once swore she'd stand beside me forever, and all I saw was a stranger wearing memories like a costume. There's nothing left to save, I said. She sobbed. Ethan, I was scared. I thought Lucas could give me everything you couldn't. Maybe he did, I said. He gave you the truth. She looked up, confused. What truth? That having everything means nothing when you lose yourself. Her tears fell faster, soaking her hands. I turned away before I could feel anything again. Goodbye, Clara, Ethan. Wait. But I didn't. I opened the door and stepped aside. She hesitated, then walked out. Her heels echoing down the hallway until the sound disappeared completely. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was peaceful. For the first time in months, I felt free. When Sophie called that night, her voice was cautious. She came to see you, didn't she? Yes. Did you listen? I did, and I walked away. She exhaled. Then maybe this is your closure. I looked out the window, the city lights flickering below. Closure, I murmured. Feels more like release. Sometimes, she said. They're the same thing. Maybe she was right. For the first time, I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. Chapter 6. The Turning Point Word Count. 900. I never thought peace could sound like laughter. But it did, soft, unexpected. Filling the spaces where pain used to live, Sophie sat across from me at dinner, smiling as she poured wine. You're actually smiling. Should I take a picture? I chuckled. You make it sound rare. Which is rare, she teased. I was starting to think your face forgot how. I raised my glass. Then here's to rediscovering it. She clinked her glass gently against mine. To peace, then? To peace, I echoed, though part of me wasn't sure I deserved it yet. Our evenings became the quiet I never knew I needed. We'd cook together well, she cooked, and I mostly got in the way. We'd talk about everything but the past. Movies, travel, stupid jokes that made her laugh until she cried. You know? I said one night, I don't remember the last time I felt ... normal. Sophie smiled softly. Maybe that's because you were never allowed to. I looked at her. And now? Now you get to choose what normal means, she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. And maybe, just maybe, it includes me. Her words hit deeper than I wanted to admit. I didn't know when our forced marriage had stopped feeling like a shield and started. It's feeling like home. But peace has a way of attracting storms. Clara began calling again. First once a week, then every day. Voicemails filled with tears, apologies, promises. Ethan, please, she'd say. We were meant to be. He's not who I thought he was. I need you. I'd listen then, delete every message. Some ghosts deserve silence. One night, Sophie found me staring at my phone. She's still calling, isn't she? She asked quietly. Yes, do you want to talk to her? I shook my head. No, but part of me wonders why she can't let go. Sophie leaned on the counter. Because losing something real hurts worse than losing something fake. I looked at her. And which one was I? She smiled sadly. You were the one she didn't realize was real until it was too late. Her words stayed with me. 3 days later, Lucas stormed into my office. His eyes were bloodshot, his breath reeking of whiskey. My employees froze as he pushed past them, slamming the door behind him. You think you're clever, huh? He growled. You think you won? I stayed seated. You shouldn't be here, Lucas. He staggered closer. You took everything from my deals, my name, her. I stood slowly, meeting his glare. I didn't take anything. You lost it all by yourself. Don't play innocent, he snapped. You've been waiting for this? Watching me fall? I didn't have to do anything, I said calmly. You built your own collapse. He slammed his fist on my desk. You stole my life, Ethan. I took a slow breath. No, you stole mine first. For a moment, he froze, then his hand clenched, and before I could react, his fist connected with my jaw. The pain was sharp, but I didn't move. I just looked at him. You done? I asked. He swung again. This time, my head hit the wall. Someone screamed outside. Cameras flashed from the hallway, my staff recording everything. Sophie burst in, shouting, Lucas, stop. He froze mid-swing, realizing too late what he'd done. The guards rushed in and dragged him out, still cursing, his voice echoing through the building. I wiped the blood from my lip. Sophie's hands trembled as she reached for me. Ethan, you need a doctor. I'm fine, I muttered. Let them take him, her voice shook. Why didn't you fight back? Because I didn't need to, I said quietly. He just buried himself. By morning, the video was everywhere. Headlines screamed, Business tycoon assaults former friend in drunken rage. Dude. Every news outlet played it on loop. Lucas's punch, my silence, Sophie's terrified face. Noah called, practically laughing. Damn, man. You didn't even swing, and you still knocked him out publicly. It's not funny, I said. He chuckled. Maybe not to you, but the world loves a poetic downfall. By noon, Lucas's company had lost 2 major investors. By evening, his accounts were frozen, pending investigation. And by midnight, the evidence of his financial fraud went public. Sophie found me sitting on the couch, staring at the news ticker. You knew this would happen, she said softly. I suspected, I admitted. But I didn't expect it this fast. Are you? Happy, I thought about it. The man who betrayed me had finally fallen, the woman who broke me was gone, and the chaos that once defined me was over. Relieved, I said finally. Not happy, just lighter. She smiled. Then that's enough. Later that night, I sat on the balcony, nursing the ache in my jaw. Sophie joined me, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. You should be resting, she said. So should you. She laughed softly. You sound like an old married couple. We are, I said. Her eyes met mine. Do you regret it? The way it started? No, I said honestly. Because no matter how messy it was, it led me here. To peace. To you. She looked down, a blush warming her cheeks. You always know what to say. I've had practice, I said, smiling. She leaned against my shoulder. You know, you could have ruined him yourself. But you didn't. That matters. I exhaled. Karma doesn't need help. It just needs patience. Oh. She nodded. And you finally learned that? Maybe I whispered. Or maybe I just ran out of anger. The night wind brushed against us, soft and forgiving. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't haunted by the past. I wasn't chasing revenge or drowning in regret. I was just a man sitting beside someone who reminded him that even broken hearts can start beating again. And as the city lights flickered below, I realized this wasn't the end of my story. It was the start of something worth living for. Chapter 7. Closure in the Rain. Word count. 600. Rain always had a strange way of silencing the world. That night, it felt like the city was holding its breath. I was leaving the office when I saw Hercularas standing under the flickering streetlight, soaked to the bone. Her hair clung to her face, mascara bleeding down her cheeks. For a moment, I just froze. Ethan, she whispered, voice trembling. Please don't walk away, sighed. You shouldn't be here, Clara. Had to see you, she said, stepping closer. They're saying terrible things about me. About Lucas, about everything. You made your choices, I replied quietly. Now you're living with them. Her eyes searched mine. Do you still hate me? I looked at her, the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with, and felt nothing. Just emptiness where love used to be. No, I said softly. I don't hate you. She blinked through the rain. Then what do you feel? I swallowed. Nothing anymore. Her lip trembled. Nothing. Nothing, I repeated. Not anger. Not love. Just peace. She shook her head. You can't mean that. After everything we had, after everything we lost, we didn't lose it, I said. You threw it away. Tears mixed with the rain as she whispered, I thought he could give me more. He gave you less, I said simply. And you let him. I was scared, she cried. Scared of struggling, scared of being ordinary. But I never stopped loving you, Ethan. I almost laughed, but it came out as a sigh. You stopped when it mattered. She stepped closer, desperate. Can't we start over? Please. We were good together once. I looked down at her hand, reaching for mine, and saw how unfamiliar it felt. Once that touch could have undone me. Now, it only reminded me how far I'd come. It's too late, I said. You're a memory now, Clara. Her voice cracked. So that's it? After everything, you just walk away? Yes, I said quietly. Because this, I gestured between us, should have ended a long time ago. She stared at me, shaking, drenched, defeated. You really don't feel anything? No, I whispered. And that's how I know I'm finally free. Her knees gave out, and she sank onto the wet pavement, sobbing. I don't deserve forgiveness. I nodded slightly. Then stop asking for it. She looked up at me through the rain. Will you ever think of me? Sometimes, I admitted, but not with hate. Not with love either. Just with understanding, her tears mixed with the storm, her voice breaking. Goodbye, Ethan. I turned away. Goodbye, Clara. The rain fell harder as I walked off, each drop washing away what little remained of our past. For the first time, I didn't look back. When I got home, Sophie was waiting on the couch, reading. She looked up as I entered, eyes soft but questioning. You're drenched, she said. Rough night? I dropped my coat on the chair. You could say that, she stood, stepping closer. Was it her? I nodded. Yeah, her voice was gentle. And it's over, I said simply. All of it. She studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly. You look lighter. Maybe I am. There was silence between us, not heavy, just calm. Then I said, half smiling, you know, maybe our wedding was the best mistake I ever made. She raised an eyebrow. A mistake? At first, I said, chuckling now. I'm not so sure. Sophie laughed softly, that quiet kind of laughter that feels like home. Well, I'll take that as a compliment, as I said, and a confession. Her smile deepened. Then I'll accept both. We stood there in the faint glow of the living room light, rain tapping against the windows. For once, it didn't sound like sadness, it sounded like closure. And as she leaned into me, warm and real, I finally understood what peace really felt like. Chapter 8. The life I never expected. Word count. 500. The hill hadn't changed much. The same wind, the same view, the same fading light that once framed a version of me I'd barely recognized. Only this time, Sophie's hand was in mine. She looked up at the sky, smiling softly. It's beautiful here, yeah, I said. I used to come here to remember, or maybe to forget. I'm not sure anymore. She squeezed my hand gently. And now? Now, I said, glancing at her, I just come to breathe. She laughed quietly. That sounds like you've finally learned how to live. Maybe I have, I replied. Took me long enough. For a while, we just stood there. No words, no noise, just peace. The kind of peace I never thought I'd deserve. Sophie broke the silence first. Do you ever think about her? Sometimes, I admitted. Not in the way I used to. More like remembering a book I finished years ago, one I don't need to reread. Her voice was careful. Do you still hate her? I shook my head. No, I stopped carrying that weight. It's strange, but forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself. She smiled faintly. You sound wiser than when I met you. I chuckled. You sound exactly the same. No. She nudged my shoulder playfully. So that's your way of calling me stubborn? I'd call it consistent, I said with a grin. You were the only constant in a world that kept falling apart. Her eyes softened. We both rebuilt, Ethan. You didn't do it alone. I looked at her, really looked the woman who stepped into my chaos without hesitation and turned it into calm. I know, I said quietly. You didn't just stay. You taught me how to stay too. Sophie turned toward the horizon. The sun dipped lower, painting everything gold. Do you regret anything? She asked, her voice barely above the wind. I thought about it. About the heartbreak, the betrayal, the nights I didn't think I'd make it through. Then about the laughter, the slow healing, the second chances. Only one thing, I said finally. She tilted her head. What's that? That I didn't meet you sooner. Her eyes shimmered, and for a moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, maybe the timing had to be wrong first, so it could be right now. I smiled. You always know what to say. It's one of my few talents, she teased. It's the one that saved me, I said. She laughed softly, the sound blending with the wind. You don't need saving anymore. Maybe not, I said, but I still need you. Sophie leaned against me, her warmth cutting through the cool evening air. Good, she murmured. Because I'm not going anywhere. We stood there, watching the sun disappear behind the hills, the same hills that once witnessed my heartbreak, now witnessing my peace, and as the last light faded, I realized something simple but true. Life doesn't always give you what you expect. Sometimes it gives you what you need.